Our next lesson in chapter 9 is going to be types of errors. So the hypothesis testing has limits. We cannot eliminate uncertainty completely, but there are two different types of uncertainty. So the first type is a type 1 error, and then the second one is a type 2 error. So what's the difference? Well, a significance test that is going to be called alpha. This is the probability of committing a type 1 error. So that is essentially saying that the significance level is the probability of making the wrong decision when the null hypothesis was in fact true. And then a type 2 error is relative to the specific alternative hypothesis, often called beta. So in other words, it is the probability of making the wrong decision when the specific alternative hypothesis is true. That's a type 2 error. So again, alternative hypothesis is true. So a lot of this is just going to be kind of reading over the problem and then just writing out what the two different types of errors were. So in question number 1, we've got the null hypothesis is a new drug cannot cure a cold, and the alternative hypothesis is that a new drug can cure a cold. So for the type 1 error, this is the probability we're making the wrong decision, but the null hypothesis is in fact true. So we're simply just going to write out that we said the new drug may cure a cold, but it really cannot. So that is the null hypothesis was in fact true. The type 2 error, so for the type 2 error, we're making the wrong decision, but the alternative hypothesis is true. So we said the new drug cannot cure a cold, when really it can. All right. Number 2, we've got the null hypothesis is that Ms. Tanasa will check homework today. The alternative hypothesis is that Ms. Tanasa won't check homework today. So our type 1 error is we're making the wrong decision when the null hypothesis is true. So we can say that we said Ms. Donaso won't check homework when really she will. And she cannot do it today because she is not at school. Now the type 2 error is that we're making the probability, so we're making the wrong decision, and when the specific alternative hypothesis is true. So we said Ms. Donaso will check homework today when really she won't. Number 3, we've got a test shows a person doesn't have AIDS, and the alternative test is a test shows the person does have AIDS. So type 1 is we said the person does have AIDS when really they don't. And then our type 2 error is we said the person does not have AIDS when really they do. And then our last one, we've got bottles of Coke are advertised to have 300 milliliters of pop in them. The statistician in charge of quality control takes a random sample off the line. So we've got mu equals 300 milliliters for our null hypothesis, and the mean is less than 300 milliliters for the alternative hypothesis, and mu is the population mean amount of pop in a bottle of Coke. So our type 1 error is that we conclude there may be less than 300 milliliters when really it was equal. And then our type 2 error is that we conclude that there is 300 milliliters when really it was less than 300 milliliters. And that brings up the last problem for our examples in type 1 and type 2 errors.